Welcome all to 5 Minutes with Kerusso. I'm Whitney. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me today. So, a couple weeks ago, I got really lucky. I got to go on a trip with a friend where we went to a park and we got to go on a hike. And we spent the whole morning out there. It must have been like a 5 mile hike. And it was still cold, it was still winter, so there wasn't just a ton of greenery, but it was still such a beautiful setting to be in. I was noticing every single stump that was covered with mushrooms, and I was taking pictures of all the little tiny creeks that fed into the lake that the trail surrounded. And the entire time it was so peaceful and so serene. We must have been one of the few people out there. And it was so long. It was such a long time. It was a whole morning. It was a long time to spend just out in nature, nowhere near a restroom. But it made space for contemplation, and it made space for reconnecting with God's creation. And that's always been a favorite thing of mine to do. Anyone who knows me will tell you I'm a very outdoorsy person. I love going camping whenever I can, and I love being outside. And a huge part of that for me is that I spent a lot of time outside as a kid and as a teen reconnecting with God. My best times of forming my faith were times when I was surrounded by the trees. And for me, it just made it easier to connect with God if I was connected with his creation, if I was connected with nature. And we see so much of this in the Bible too, where so many passages talk about God being in his creation and all of his works and all of his nature attesting to his glory. And one of these passages is in Isaiah 55, and it's verses 12 and 13, where it says, "You will go out in joy and be led forth in peace. The mountains and hills will burst into song before you, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. Instead of the thorn bush will grow the pine tree, and instead of briars the myrtle will grow. This will be for the Lord's renown, for an everlasting sign which will not be destroyed." And I love that. I love that so much. Just that reminder that if you're stressed, if life is really hectic, a place where you can go to be led forth in peace is just taking a step outside. And I love that. It's so easy. It's so simple. And I know a lot of people, not everybody's outdoorsy like me, but it doesn't have to be disappearing into the woods for a whole week or going on a 5-hour hike. No, it could just be finding a park in your city and appreciating landscaping and how someone cultivated living things to grow in such a beautiful way. Even something small like that is a wonderful way to connect with God and appreciate his creation on this earth. And in addition to that, we can think about what are ways that we could connect to God through nature. What are ways that we can find peace in nature? But I hope one thing we consider in the midst of that is, how are we treating nature? If nature is a gift from God, and if it is a testament to his glory, and if it is here to exalt his awesome power, are we respecting it like we should be? Are we being kind to living creatures? Are we being respectful of all the living organisms? Are we I don't know, just are we respecting nature and trying to cultivate it and trying to help it grow? Because in Genesis, God does call upon humanity to steward and take care of of his creation. And he does say, everything on this earth is for man to use. Earth is full of resources that are here for man, and man should not be afraid to make use of that. But with that does come the responsibility of taking care of it. So it might be a good thing to ask ourselves, are we using and honoring God's great creation in nature, or are we only consuming it? I hope that we are honoring and respecting what God has created for us. And I hope that we are taking advantage of this wonderful opportunity to connect with him and find maybe just a little bit of peace, even if it is just going for a 10-minute walk and breathing in some fresh air. I hope that this week you are able to find some peace. I hope you're able to reconnect with God, and I hope you're able to enjoy some of nature, some of His creation. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.